What happened to me shouldn't happen to anyone, but I'm glad it did. It's wild how life can turn upside down in an instant, like a plane caught in turbulence. As I sit here, reflecting on the day a slap echoed throughout the cabin and my life changed forever, disbelief mingles with a quiet confidence. Darius King, the first black billionaire in my industry, stepped onto that plane with his children, hoping for just an ordinary flight from Chicago to LA. But when the head flight attendant, Elena, met us with her icy glare and dismissive comments, the atmosphere shifted. It felt like we were shrouded in a fog of prejudice, her words dripping with condescension, as if my family's presence was somehow unintended. The tension bubbled over when Elena spilled water on my young son James and brushed off our complaints. Watching my children, innocent and bewildered, made my blood boil. When she slapped James for simply asking for respect, the cabin fell silent, shock rippling through the passengers. I pulled out my phone, recording the chaos just as my voice steadied to confront the stewardess's inexcusable act. The alarming twist came when our flight made an unscheduled landing. To my surprise, the passengers clapped, bolstered by a powerful affirmation of dignity over prejudice. Soon after, the airline's VP boarded, and within moments, Elena and her crew were dismissed. The power dynamics flipped. The fallout was immense, thrusting my family into the spotlight, a mixed bag of support and backlash. Yet in the storm of anger and disdain, we found allies. A witness with a recording transformed our narrative, paving the way for accountability and making room for real change in the airline industry. In the end, I realized that this fight, born from a moment of injustice, became the catalyst for something greater, a mission to eradicate discrimination and promote inclusion. And though I wish it hadn't happened, I know that sometimes it takes a slap to spark real conversation. "Can I help you with something?" Elena's voice cut through the cabin like a knife, her eyes averted from Darius as she turned to the other first-class passengers. Darius shifted in his seat, suppressing his anger. "Actually, yes. We were hoping for some extra snacks for the kids. They're not used to flying." Elena raised an eyebrow, her lips curling into a slight smirk. "We have a policy on food, sir. I can't keep running back and forth just for your family," she said, her tone dripping with condescension. "What do you mean, just my family?" Darius's voice trembled slightly, but he maintained a calm facade. "It's a simple request." In an event, she turned away abruptly, as though dismissing a petty annoyance. "Hey!" shouted James, his eyes wide. "You spilled water on me!" "Discharge that. Watch it, kid. No need to be dramatic." She swatted her hand dismissively, catching him on the cheek. Gasps echoed through the cabin. "You don't just hit him," Darius's voice thundered as he stood, heart racing. "That's unacceptable." Familiarity laughed, her cruelty palpable. "Maybe don't let him get in the way next time." "Get the captain," Darius demanded, pulling out his phone. "I'm calling the chairman." Well, I hope your money can save you once we land," she sneered, but the fear in her eyes betrayed her. As Elena walked away, Darius felt the eyes of other passengers, some supportive, others uncomfortable. The weight of humiliation settled heavily on his shoulders. The flight buzzed with a low hum, an unspoken tension hanging thick in the air. Darius King glanced at his kids, James and Marley, settled in their seats, their faces reflecting excitement and innocence. He wanted them to see that the world could be explored without extravagance. But even now, as he assessed the cabin crew, he felt the heat of subtle judgment. Elena Brooks, the head flight attendant, barely made eye contact as she moved past their row, her dismissive tone cutting through the anticipation they'd carried onto the plane. "Is this the family that needs extra attention now?" she muttered within earshot, just loud enough for Darius to catch her passive aggression. As hours slipped by, the discomfort twisted in Darius's gut. Every request met with indifference, each smile reeked of condescension. When Elena spilled water across their table, laughing it off as just a little mistake, the laughter twisted inside him. James's confusion echoed in his silence, but Marley's eyes sparked with a protective fire. "Stop treating us like that." This is a latest pages producing the original strings and a sat. One you cannot stand a good of some high freeger. Elena's response was swift, a sharp slap to James's hand, dismissing any notions of retribution.
further infuriating the tension beneath Darius's calm facade. This was the moment. The weight of past experiences and silent screams coalesced into a boiling point. "I've had enough," he whispered, dialing the airline chairman, vitality returning to his voice. The cabin fell deafeningly silent as he reported the incident, the quiet intensity shifting the energy, igniting the room. Power dynamics unraveled. He wouldn't remain a silent witness. Darius straightened in his seat, eyes narrowing as he focused on Elena. "Excuse me," he said, his voice steady yet assertive. "We need to talk about your treatment of my family." Elena's dismissive smile faltered, but she quickly regained her composure. "I'm just doing my job," she replied coolly, but Darius saw the crack in her facade. "No," he replied softly but firmly.
"You're not just serving us, you're treating us like we don't belong? That's not acceptable." Marley watched, heart pounding with pride as her father braced against the winds of prejudice. A small victory, but one she knew could pave the way for change. Just moments later, despite the chaos around them, James spoke up, his voice barely above a whisper. "Can I get some juice, please?" There was newfound strength in his words, a reclaiming of his childhood innocence. "Of course, buddy. I'll make sure it's served right away," Darius replied, his gaze locking with his son's, offering a small, encouraging smile. A flicker of determination ignited within Darius as he dialed the chairman's number. "This isn't over," he murmured, feeling the weight of generational struggles resting upon him. When the captain announced the landing, the cabin erupted in a mix of applause and murmurs, a unity emerging against the injustice. Darius felt supported, as if the collective awareness had transformed the atmosphere. As the vice president of operations boarded, dismissing the crew with a grave seriousness, Darius caught Elena's eye. Her expression shifted from defiance to fear. "I hope you understand," he said quietly, "this isn't just about today." He had taken a stand, and in that moment, clarity and courage coursed through his veins, signaling that change was not just possible, it was inevitable. The cabin buzzed with tension as the flight neared its end. Darius, usually composed, felt the weight of disdain cloaked in casual remarks from Elena, the head flight attendant. Glances were stolen and whispers exchanged. The discomfort was palpable as she dismissed their requests while doting on other passengers. As water cascaded down Darius's shirt, his children flinched, but he exhaled quietly, choosing dignity over confrontation. James watched, confusion mixing with hurt, while Marley's fierce spirits surged. When Elena's palm met James's cheek, a slap that echoed more than just a sound, time seemed to freeze. Gasps filled the aisle. Darius's heart beat like a drum in his ears. Striking back with anger was tempting, but instead he pulled out his phone, capturing the moment to share with the world. "Just wait," he said softly, eyes locked with his children. An unexpected landing drew the passengers' attention. "Administrative issues," the captain announced. As Darius sat stoically, applause erupted from those who had silently witnessed the injustice. Each clap resonated with a shared understanding, their silent revolt against Elena's behavior manifesting into a chorus of support. With the VP on board, the atmosphere shifted dramatically. Darius stood tall, his commanding presence personifying the ethos he fought for. The entire crew was dismissed, Elena's defiance crumbling as she realized she was no longer in charge. A wisp of humiliation curled in the corners of her mouth, replaced by the dawning recognition that the tides had turned. Outside the airplane, public backlash mounted. But amidst the storm, Mrs. Jenkins stepped forward, her recording exposing the assault and unearthing the hidden bias that had soured the skies. Darius found a voice in this chaos, advocating for systemic change within the airline. As he stood before a crowd, his words ignited the air with hope. Together, they envisioned an inclusive future. Darius glanced at James and Marley, silently triumphant, washed in the glow of justice. The lingering weight of prejudice lessened as they united in resilience, forging a path where dignity soared higher than any plane. As I sit in the quiet of my thoughts, I find myself reflecting on that tumultuous flight. The events unraveled in a matter of moments, yet their weight lingers. I wanted nothing more than a simple journey with my children, a chance to experience the bustling world I had fought so hard to navigate. Instead, I was met with a tide of prejudice that left lacerations deeper than any slap could inflict. In that moment of shock and betrayal, I learned the fragility of fairness and the courage that simmers beneath the surface of silence. I didn't seek conflict, I sought justice, not just for my family, but for everyone who'd ever faced the sting of bias. Yes, the aftermath was complex. It revealed unspoken truths and ignited conversations rarely acknowledged, a clearer vision and a stronger resolve. It's a two-way street. What do we owe one another in a world rife with division? Do you think I went too far? What would you have done in my place? Have you ever had someone treat you like that? I invite you to share your stories in the comments. Let's explore the shades of right and wrong together.